Hey there, welcome back to High Infidelity, the best channel for cheating stories. Like and subscribe to channel for more spicy stories. Now, let's get into today's story video.
They're not my kids and not my problem. The fact that both of my children were the result of my soon-to-be transgressions exes was only revealed to me about a month ago. Wife's, I have a strange hunch that none of them has been mine for an extended period of time. At the time of my child's birth 6 years ago, I was the happy I had ever been in my whole life. Everything looked to be ideal. I'd married my best friend, we'd had a child, and everything appeared to be wonderful. That is, until he started to become elderly and become more frail. After a few years, I started to question if he was indeed my husband. He didn't look anything like my son. His physical development made it more apparent to me how different he appeared from what I had imagined a child of mine to look like. It doesn't bother me since I'm not petty or neurotic enough to care. She was the one that really had my sirens going since she was of a wife. When she went out, she never got to the places she promised she would go. There were big gaps in her schedule that I could never explain. She refused to allow me to communicate with anybody from her employment, and a close friend of hers accused her at the time of flirting with her rslash. It was a difficult period for me. The fact that her deceptions started to catch up with her soon after our child's birth didn't help matters much. Nonetheless, I worshipped her as if she were a goddess, which I was not. When one of her lies finally caught up with her, she gushed over me, telling me how much she loved me. In spite of the fact that she was a dishonest and manipulative woman, she had managed to convince me that she was not a lying manipulative. Last year, she got pregnant for the second time, and I had a glimmer of optimism that this time it might be my kid. Nevertheless, after her child was born, it became evident that she was a mixed-race woman. I declined to sign the birth certificate, and a paternity test that I subsequently acquired verified my suspicions about my father's involvement. You don't own them, and I don't own them. I filed for divorce with that and disassociated myself from the family I had built the day after I got the results of those tests. I was well aware that her son's life would be ruined if she let me go. My doubts notwithstanding, I tried my hardest to be the greatest parent I could be to him. I cherished him with all of my heart and did all I could to be the father he deserved. But now, every time I see him, I'm filled with apprehension and fear. Disgust for my of a wife, disgust for myself for not trusting my instincts, and disgust for the fact that the preceding 6 years of my life have been a complete waste of time. The fact that I abandoned my baby in this way has been characterized as monstrous by many individuals. Several times after I moved out, my ex has tried to use him as a means of pressuring me into returning to her. She'll have him phone me at all hours of the night, cry and beg for his daddy to come back to him, in order to demonstrate to me how much damage I am causing. She brought him into my room while I was packing my possessions the day before I moved out. My face is always flushed with embarrassment every time he comes up in conversation, whether online or offline. The fact that I am not the boy's biological father does not make me any less of his father. What I've learned, though, is that the majority of individuals are unconcerned with my feelings. The only people who have supported me during this tragedy have been my parents, despite the fact that my own siblings have labeled me a bad person for abandoning a child in such a manner. Because a child is involved, my feelings of betrayal and loss are rendered worthless by the circumstances. I'm certain that it is not his fault. I get that the man he had called his father for his whole life has died away. But why am I expected to man up in this situation? Why should I have to put on a happy front and act that I'm not disgusted by the whole affair when I am not? What gives me the right to neglect my own life and feelings? But even though I was never the boy's father, I treated him as such and still do. If I were forced to assume that role, I would come to loathe and despise him much more. I despise myself for not taking the initiative and regaining control of my own life. He is not my child, and although it is not his fault, he is no longer my worry. He is no longer my responsibility. Edit. Wow, this post went viral. I guess airing my dirty laundry made a difference. Anyway, I've noticed a few often asked questions, so I'll simply address them here. 1. Her kid is aware of the truth about why I left. I sat him down and informed him that I am not his father and that his mother lied to and cheated on me. I made it plain that I am not angry with him, that it is not his fault that this is happening, and that I will always believe he's an outstanding child. 2. Some claim I never loved him and was constantly seeking for a way out. It's difficult to describe feelings in a text post like this, and it's much more difficult to let your wife decontextualize the previous 6 years of your life. You may, however, believe anything you choose. 3. I've hired a lawyer and will not be paying child support or alimony. Last but not least, those who argue that I should remain in her son's life and be his father. That is not a feasible possibility. I don't hate him, but I've been cheated on, lied to, and exploited by a disgusting, self-centered who has now entrapped her children in her lies and deception. He is a victim of her acts, yet he is not to blame. However, it will never erase the fact that we are living in a brutal world. I don't dislike him, but it makes me sad to think about how he feels. But when I look at him, all I see is 6 years of my life that I was misled to. I was used for 6 years of my life, and 6 years of accumulated uncertainties and disappointments with a woman who exploited me. There is no putting aside my animosity to attempt to participate in his life, since the life I spent with him was nothing more than a facade constructed by his mother. This is the hard truth I'm dealing with, and I just cannot put myself or him through it any longer. Edit 2. I'm seeing a lot of armchair attorneys in the comments claiming that this article is a hoax based on what I wrote above. I won't say which state I reside in, but I'm now going through a delightful legal procedure known as disestablishment of paternity. I won't be able to persuade 90% of you who believe Google makes you a lawyer, but I tried. Edit 3. This will be my last edit before I move on from this minor diversion I've manufactured for myself. First and foremost, I'd want to express my gratitude to everyone who has shown their support for me. In the comments, direct messages, and chat. For the first time in a long time, you have made my day bright. I wish I could respond to everyone, but I can't thank you all enough. Second, I've observed a lot of people criticizing the term I chose to characterize my soon-to-be ex. I just want to express that where I am right now is one of the darkest places I have ever been in my life. I only see white-hot hatred for the lady who shattered my life. Is what I said offensive? Is the adjective I chose to describe her disgusting and dehumanizing? Yes. That is something I will concede. But I'm not going to apologize for it. What I stated here today was the reality of the world as it now exists for me. It's an imperfect man's unfiltered, undiluted stream of thought. I have no intention of instilling hatred for women or spreading a message about how bad women are. That is not my intention, nor is it the meaning of this piece. I understand why folks are offended by the term I used here, and you know what? I embrace it as a genuine criticism of what I did today. I came here today to just get some relief from the circumstances I'm in. To vent, lament, and process the complicated and visceral feelings that have ripped me apart over the past month. A place where I may freely express myself. And guess what? I did it. Thanks to you, I had a fairly good day. Thank you again from the bottom of my broken heart to everyone who offered me love and support. Thank you to all that came here disagreeing with me, but yet showed me respect. Considering the embarrassment and scorn I suffer in my daily life, the respect you gave me despite your disagreement was appreciated. So goodbye, and many thanks for the fish.